Well, on the back of that conversation, I think we have a lot of very similar points here, but thank you. My name's David Colebatch. I'm here to talk about improving service delivery to citizens through cloud migrations, specifically public cloud. Before I get too far along, a little bit about myself. I'm also not from here. I'm actually originally from Australia, but I've spent the last 14 winters calling Canada home. And that's where I have my wife and kids, and we've enjoyed some great holidays here in Bratislava, which brings me here today. I spent the first probably 5 or 6 years of my career doing data center automation, this DevOps process of helping people to build out data centers and service delivery rapidly. And then with the rise of virtualization, I helped people to take physical infrastructure and virtualize it, which led into consolidation of data centers to reduce costs, creating more efficiencies, and closing them down to save a bunch of money. But the last 5 years, I've been really helping people to shut down data centers entirely and migrate them to the public cloud. I've got a couple of public sector examples here I want to talk about, but my message is very similar to the last speaker. The institutions of government just serve such a great social purpose, providing us with stability and security and that overarching sense that someone's looking out for us, that a lot of us take comfort in. But at the same time, the internet and information technology has evolved so quickly in the last 2 decades that our expectations are a lot higher. You know, today I can book an Airbnb on my phone in a minute. I can send money globally on the blockchain. I can order a book online and have it delivered to my house that same day. And I can do all of that whilst waiting in line for 3 hours while I get a permit so I can paint my fence. You know, nothing to say of the 30 days it can take the state to come back with me with a yes, you can go and paint your fence. This is all very, very frustrating to people. And so if we want to continue to meet that high bar that the private sector has set for us in terms of service delivery, we've got a few things to change. We've got some work to do, undoubtedly. So how do we do that? I want to take you through just 3 core tenets that we've seen in private sector adoption of public cloud, and then I'll go through 3 case studies as well. So the first one is being agile, embracing these agile project methodologies such as Scrum, Lean IT, and also XP programming is sometimes still very important in software delivery. This agility, it's not just about IT projects. We're seeing agile being used more and more across business, from marketing and sales departments throwing up Kanban boards to track workflow. So agility is probably one of the, and the methodologies around it, probably one of the most important differentiators that we've seen. Next is elasticity. And in the notion of public cloud, elastic's kind of easy. We understand that there's a big infrastructure and we can draw down on usage as we need it. But embracing elasticity doesn't have to stop with IT. As the previous speaker illustrated, you know, adopting more agile and elastic procurement arrangements with everything from aggregate and gravel through to IT can really unlock a lot of value and mean that we don't get tied down into multi-year, 20-year procurements of billions of dollars. And the final big differentiator I've seen is data-driven decisions. So leveraging big data to help us form policy decisions. Perhaps if we enable e-government in total across the board, we can track usage information about which programs are more important to people and divert funding to those. Looking at which programs are starting to dwindle, we might see that we're not getting the same ROI on the dollars invested in those programs anymore and need to shut them down and divert funds to the growing ones. If we do this based on data, it becomes a lot more defensible. We've taken all the emotion and politics out of the decision, and public sector can get back to focusing on delivering services very quickly. Sorry about that. So how do we cross that chasm? How do we bridge the divide? We need to build that bridge. Firstly, there's no silver bullet. So you can't come to me afterwards and say, what product can I buy? I want to sprinkle some cloud dust on this problem. It doesn't happen that way. Really, the big one is the culture change. And as IT leaders here, it's enabling that culture change throughout your organization that makes a big difference. I mean setting direction about we're going to cloud and we're modernizing our IT, and giving your teams the ability to fail and to experiment and try things without repercussion. We have a saying that every failure gets us closer to success, and I truly believe that that's really helping us to deliver some of the more modern services today. The last point, of course, is embracing public cloud. I think it goes without saying that small countries, small organizations, we cannot compete with Amazon and Google. They have such large economies of scale, delivering thousands of new services or feature updates every year. We need to embrace that and play at the top of the iceberg there rather than at the bottom of it. So a couple of examples, two from Ontario, one from Australia. Cancer Care Ontario is a publicly funded agency of government in Ontario. They've developed an electronic system for dealing with emergency room triage. It deals with all the same security and privacy issues that people have. We talk about having private information in the cloud as being a hard sell, but these guys are able to deal with that. You have more security options available to you with cryptography standards improving everywhere. So Cancer Care Ontario went about setting up a 2-pizza team. It's about 6 people. And they developed this triage system that worked on an iPad and used facial recognition in hospitals to expedite the ability to triage patients as they came in the front door. Being a cloud system, this of course scaled, not from one hospital, it scaled across the province and very quickly was processing hundreds of thousands of triage requests every week. Another example, this hopefully made the news here, Canada legalized marijuana. And as a result of that, in Canada, a lot of the provinces actually sell you the alcohol that people buy. It's a very regulated industry. I don't just go to a private wine store and buy wine, I go to the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. And when the federal government announced that they were legalizing marijuana, the provincial governments wanted to step up and fill that market gap like they do with alcohol. So they issued an RFP looking for solutions for CRM management and supply chain management to be able to track and deliver weed and edibles to people. But the winning bid wasn't any of the larger software vendors that came up with the traditional approaches. The winning bid came from Shopify, a Canadian company, sure, but Shopify is unique in that they're hosted entirely on the Google Cloud, which doesn't have the same type of restrictions around data provenance as you might expect. But this solution enabled the government to deliver on time, on budget, and very scalable, making sure that it's delivered to the service expectations of citizens, that they can order marijuana on their phones whilst waiting in line to get their painting permit. The last example I have is back from my home country in Australia. I was there in January, and a friend of mine was showing me his driver's license on his iPhone. And I thought, well, that's pretty interesting. What's going on here? So Australia has a lot of AWS presence now. Big digital transformation initiatives have gone on there. They're quite far ahead. And the state government of South Australia partnered with the private sector to create a digital identity solution, leveraging the existing ID processes around driver's licenses. So there was no physical token, no EID to allocate to people, leveraging the existing processes around that photo card that we all carried with us. So now people have the choice. They can use that photo card or they can have the app and just carry their phones with them when they go out. Police want to check your ID, you can show them the phone. You need to show the bartender, you're of age, you show them your phone. So another great example of not just adopting public cloud through AWS, but a real digital transformation opportunity here. So I think when I look at the wholesale migrations to cloud that we're doing, the biggest failing or stumbling block that people have is not really understanding what we're running today in our data centers and what we have. So we say you've got to know what you have first. When we take stock of our IT, we're not talking about walking the floors of our data centers and counting servers and so on. We're saying top-down application portfolio management. Which applications do I have? Why do I run them? What business value do I derive from these applications? And what do they cost me to support as well? And when we take that application portfolio view, we can then take it a step further, rationalize some of those applications as we migrate to cloud, but use that as your starting point in any type of digital transformation and migration initiatives. Set some goals internally, set some real clear goals that over the next 2, 3, or 4 years, where you want to be in terms of your cloud journey. You can do that in percentage terms or perhaps new service offerings that you want to be able to deliver. And then commit. I have to emphasize that organizational change piece again. Where we have large central IT organizations, they're very structured and hard to change. One of the strategies to deal with that we've seen is creating small 2-pizza teams, these cloud teams that report directly to the CIO. They have full autonomy to deliver. They can engage with privacy commissions and so on, but the bureaucracy and gating processes get removed for this to be successful. So you need to commit, but you need to expect some challenges along the way. We've talked mostly today about just these top 4 building blocks. This is a framework by Tidal Migrations that we have in Canada. It's available now as well in Slovakia. The top 4 is all about knowing what you have, and as you've identified what you have, the rationalization and transformation piece becomes a lot more obvious. And from here you can start to really get a cloud migration journey going, using agile practices to push your application portfolio through Scrum, and finally have everything running in the cloud and enabling much greater digital transformation going forwards. Well, that's all we have time for today, so thank you very much.